Tricia Hall. I'm very honored to be here tonight. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who came out to support me. I must say that I have many incredible women and some men. I got some guys here tonight too. But it's all about the girls. So I want to acknowledge the women between family, friends, and coworkers who have all in different ways made impacts on my life. So thank you again for being here and for being you. So let's get this party started. When Jenny called and asked me to speak this evening, my first thought was, sure, why not? I had recently interviewed for the All About the Girls podcast, which ended up being about an hour and 40 minutes long. So I thought, no problem. I should be able to do a 5 to 10 minute speech. But I am a person who likes to prepare. So I went back and watched some of the speeches from the previous years, which was probably a huge mistake. I immediately started comparing myself to these other women and thought, I really don't belong on this stage. Some of their stories were just astounding. Overcoming the loss of a child, learning to talk again, a few learning to walk again. Sorry.
Woo!
Thank you. Even meeting the other women who are speaking tonight was very intimidating. In 5 minutes of meeting DJ Lightbright, I got goosebumps just listening to her tell me the story of her 2 sons and the journey she went through to get through it with each one. And she's not even speaking tonight, so maybe a teaser for next year, Jenny. Anyway, I started doubting myself, right? Because that's what we as women do. We doubt ourselves. We beat ourselves up. I told myself I was a fraud. I convinced myself I had nothing inspiring to say. Anyone else been there? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter who you are or how fluffy your life may seem on the outside. Life is hard and it often sucks. And we all go through challenges along the way. But those challenges mold us into the people that we are today. So I went back and watched my podcast. And I absorbed all the key points and just let myself ponder the question. If I could tell my younger self one thing that could help tackle those challenges, what would I say? And here it is. Kids, cover your ears. You, girl, are a badass, and don't you ever forget it. I remember the first time someone called me a badass. I started on what I call my health journey, and I was just done being a tired and frumpy mom, judging myself every time I looked in the mirror. So I started working out and eating healthier, and I was part of an accountability group on Facebook with other women on the same journey. And we would post about our progress. So I made a post bragging about how I'd worked my way up to a sumo squat with a 30-pound weight. And this woman, Jillian, commented back saying, Tricia, you're a badass, and I'm so proud of how far you've come. And I felt really good about myself after that. Like, yeah, that's right, I am a badass. But here's the thing about being a badass. It has absolutely nothing to do with what other people think about you. Another thing that I realized in writing this speech is I have a pattern of being loyal to a fault. Always trying to be the best friend, the best wife, mother, daughter, sister, coworker, the list goes on and on. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to operate at your best. However, when you do it for other people instead of doing it for yourself, you find yourself constantly looking for validation from others that, let's face it, you're not ever going to get, and will just leave you lost and empty. Let me take a moment to repeat that. If you're constantly trying to be your best for everyone else instead of yourself, you will constantly be looking for validation from them, which you won't get enough of, leaving yourself lost and empty. And that's where I found myself not too long ago. I was like Julia Roberts in Runaway Bride, who eventually had to figure out what kind of eggs I liked instead of being okay with whatever eggs were handed to me. And hopefully there's enough rom-com junkies out there to understand that analogy. But if not, the point is, you have to find your inner badass. Take the time to figure out who you are and what you believe. What are your values? What drives you? What excites you? Who do you admire and why do you admire them? What's your personal mission statement? Easy enough, right? No. It took me years to untangle the web that was me because someone else told me to be that way and to get to the me that I am today. And as I set out on that journey, there's 4 significant steps that unfolded. Number 1, discipline. Taking control of my health was a huge first step for me. I had to prioritize myself, which we as women always struggle with. But progress can be powerful. So ladies, if you're struggling with confidence, make a goal for yourself and hit it, no matter what it takes. I remember doing a program called Morning Meltdown 100. And it was 100 straight days of workouts. Sometimes I worked out in the morning, sometimes it didn't happen until after the kids went to bed. Sometimes it happened tripping over kids and dogs, because you know our children and dogs love us so much they can't leave us alone. And that's often true for husbands as well. I had this calendar where I marked off the date each day as I completed it. The kids got involved, they helped me mark off the calendar. It was a team effort, but I was committed, and when I hit that last day, I cried. I still get emotional by the picture of me with my teary eyes in front of the marked off calendar. Sometimes you just have to do it to know that you can do it. Number 2, hard conversations. I am typically a person who avoids confrontation. 1, because I believe in respecting others, and in a perfect world, we would all just talk it out and come to a mutual agreement. But also, I'm a quiet person by nature, and when people get loud or assertive, I tend to clam up, and the words literally just fall out of my head, like, I got nothing. But the more I invested in knowing who I was and what I believed, the easier confrontation became. Finally, I was able to stand up for things I felt were right instead of always falling in line out of fear of repercussion. Many times I still have to hype myself up Many times I have to hype myself up before starting a conversation. But I have had enough experience now to know that there's a better outcome when I stand up for myself, instead of just sitting in the anxiety, hurt, anger that lingers when I don't. At this point, I've almost come to enjoy pushing back when I don't agree with something, and the power that comes when we're just being direct and honest with people. Just ask my husband, he loves all my honesty these days, don't you dear? Number 3, education. My daughter told me that I should mention her in her speech, and I'm not sure if this is what she was thinking, but I'm going to tell this story anyways. I found that when I get anxious, I buy a book. One example is when my daughter, who's now 12, was transitioning from elementary school to middle school, and out of nowhere, she started staying up in her room. She got rid of all of her toys, anything even remotely considered childish, even her warm, fluffy socks. I was like, girl, I'm a full-grown adult, and I have fluffy socks. So I bought a book called Untangled, which describes 7 stages that teen girls go through. The first one being separating from childhood, right around the age 11. Then it clicked. Everything she was doing was her way of separating from childhood. Thank God, she's just being normal. After reading that book, I was so much calmer, and I was really able to just enjoy the transition period with her and truly admire her for how much she was growing and maturing, instead of living in fear that she was up in her room making plans to sneak out, steal the car, and drive halfway across the country. So don't live in the unknown. Your brain will take you to some crazy places. Educate yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to go get a master's degree, although I've done that too when advances in my career called for it. But it could be as simple as listening to a podcast, reading an article, talking with a trusted advisor. I believe one woman in a previous speech said, not your friends, because they're crazy too. But someone who's educated on the topic you need help with. A counselor, a pastor, a boss. Knowledge is power. So take control of your life and find answers to your problems. And number 4, forgiveness. I had to forgive people who probably didn't even know that I was mad at them. But also, I had to forgive myself. There's still too many days where I say to myself, I'm so mad at myself for letting X, Y, and Z happen. But being mad at yourself, living in the past, comparing yourself to others, doubting your worth, none of these are productive, and none of them will help you move forward. So it's important to give yourself and everyone else some grace and focus on finding ways to forgive. As I continue to work on these areas of my life, one lesson that keeps resonating with me is it's never too late. Listening to more of the All About the Girls podcast, I found that many women fall in the same pattern of losing themselves trying to do all the things for all the people. And what I have to say to that is stop. Don't do it for them, do it for you. If you aren't feeling satisfied with your life, change it. 5 years ago, I was living what should have been a very fulfilling life, but instead I felt hurt and lost, so I started making small changes. I joined the board of the YMCA. I became a lunch buddy to a first grader at a local school. I pushed my kids to join an activity and did whatever it took to support them. I made more of an effort to connect with coworkers, family, and friends. Small but intentional changes. And what happened? I got invited to do a podcast from someone who's known me for over a decade, yet recently saw something different. And this past month, I waved goodbye to my lunch buddy at the end of the school year, and she called out, "Love you," for the first time after having lunch with me for 3 years. And on Mother's Day, my sister-in-law texted me and thanked me for treating her children as my own. And when I told my husband, he said, "You're a special person, Trish." And I said, "I really felt that today." It took time, but I stopped looking for validation from others, and I just changed into the person that I wanted to be. A person who lives life with integrity and puts effort into others, because that's the kind of life I choose to live, and the validation just came on its own. So ladies, if you're feeling lost, empty, walked all over, or just not yourself, it's time to make a change. Find yourself a good motivational theme song, and if you don't have one, you can always take a beat from our friend Beyonce, who reminds us that who run the world? That's right, we run this mother. Anyways, find something that motivates you, put on your big girl panties, and remember, you, my friend, are a badass, and don't you ever forget it.